For those of you who follow Korean drama into the 1990s, you will recognize our Globalists today, Cha In-pyo, as one of the major heartthrobs of the time.
영욱이 만났었네?
But today, he's a published author, having written several novels, one of which has caught the attention of Oxford University.
We may think that we can't help because we are powerless. However, we can cry with them, showing our empathy. That can actually save a person and bring about significant change.
The novel, Once We Look at the Same Star, made it onto the required reading list of the university and will be used during classes in the coming semester. Cha joins us today to talk about his novel, the story it tells about Korea's painful past, and how he made the transition from movie star to author. Welcome, Mr. Cha, to The Globalist.
네, 안녕하세요. Hello. Nice to meet you again, Ms. Song.
Oh, we are very glad that you took the time to join us today. I hear that you were recently at Oxford University and
Yes.
gave a lecture. What was that like?
Right, I recently made a travel to England because one of the professors at Asian Middle Eastern Study at Oxford University selected one of my novels as the text for the next semester. And they invited me to give a special lecture, so I went there.
Professor is a Korean.
Yes, her name is Cha In-pyo. She is the full professor at Asian Middle Eastern Study at Oxford.
Because your novel hasn't been translated into
No,
English
it's not
yet.
yet. Actually, the translation is being underway right now. Yeah.
So she read it in Korean.
Yes, she did.
So why did she select your novel?
Well, to answer that, I think I need to actually introduce what my novel is about first. My novel, Once We Look at the Same Star, is about the women who were taken away from their home by Imperial Japanese Army during World War II and forcibly put into sexual slavery. And in my novel, we have a 16-year-old girl named Suni living in a deep mountain area in Baekdu. The shadow of war arrives at that village as well when the Japanese army decides to make it as their garrison. And at first, they seem to get along well with the villagers, working together, sharing foods together. And then when the war situation worsens, their attitude change upon receiving an order from the above, commanding that to conscript the village girls as comfort women. So it's the basic story, plot of my novel. I think it's not because how well I wrote the novel, but I think it's because who I wrote about. It's about comfort women. It's one of the painful history in Korea.
This is your actually first debut novel.
Yes.
Republished.
Right.
So why did you select the subject, the comfort woman, as your debut novel?
Oh, okay. I decided to write this novel because of someone I saw on TV way back. in 1997.
One of the comfort women
Yes, returning to
themselves.
Korea,
Yeah.
yes. It was August 4, 1997. I remember that day because of the lady I saw on TV. At that time, my wife and I were still newlywed, probably lying very comfortably on my sofa and watching TV in my living room. And there was a live TV broadcast, and cameras were shooting the arrival gate at the Gimpo International Airport. And when the gate opened, I saw this old, tiny, round-eyed, short-haired lady walking out slowly. She was called Grandma Hun. That was her Cambodian name. And she had been discovered in Cambodian jungle village a few months earlier by a Korean traveler who happened to travel there. She was one of the comfort women.
Korean living in Cambodia.
Yes. And she lived there for about 55 years. And she was taken from her hometown back in 1942 by Japanese army, victimized as comfort women. And along with her, a lot of Korean women, they traveled from Busan to Taiwan to Singapore to Vietnam to Cambodia. Wherever the Japanese army went, they had to go with them.
So she was taken from Korea and then forced to follow the Japanese army wherever they went.
She was 16 years old when she was taken. 16. And when the war was over in 1945, a lot of girls were taken abroad. They, out of shame, they decided not to come back to Korea and stayed where they were. And she was one of them as well. And lived in Cambodian jungle for 55 years and then accidentally met with a Korean traveler and expressed a wish to go home before she died. So finally, after 55 years, she was coming home. And that's the scene that I saw on TV.
1997년 8월 4일 캄보디아에 살고 있던 일본군 위안부 피해자 훈 할머니가 50여 년 만에 고국 땅을 밟는다.
얼마나 그리웠는지 모릅니다. 그래서 너무나 기쁩니다.
훈 할머니의 본명은 이남이. 16살 때 일본군 위안부로 끌려간 뒤 해방 후에도 고국에 돌아오지 못한 채 자신의 이름도 잊고 살아왔다.
She had almost forgotten the Korean language, but she could sing the Korean folk song, Arirang. And in front of camera, she actually sang that song. And while I was watching her on TV, some indescribable, unprecedented feeling started piercing my heart like needle. My heart was aching because of the mixed feeling of, I would say, sadness, anger, and disappointment, humiliation. I think sadness was for the comfort women who had to go through this indescribable, inhuman treatment. Anger was directed at Japanese soldiers who had done such things. And humiliation and disappointment towards Korean men, including myself, who failed to protect their women and children and sent them abroad and put them in such tragedy. And when I thought of these comfort women, this word, what if, kept coming to my mind. What if? What if these women were not taken away, had not been taken away, and somehow could have stayed home? What kind of life would they have had? What if there were a strong, brave Korean man who would fight to death to protect their women? What if there had been a conscientious Japanese officer who would say no to use these women as sexual slaves? So, you know, story usually begins with questions, and in my case, these what-ifs were my questions, so I started, writing my novel.
That was way back.
Way back, 27 years ago.
27 years ago.
Right.
And this is how your novel began.
Yes, yes.
But, in that novel, you choose to make that story about, as you say, a girl in a very quiet neighborhood.
Right.
You start when she's 12 years old.
Yes, right. That's
So
right.
you're very involved with the young Suni as she
Right,
grows.
right.
Did you want to take that approach? Why did you take that approach?
See, everybody's life is so precious and dignified, and if you are born, you are born with dignity. So I just wanted to describe her as a lovely person who deserves to be loved. She's one of them. She's a mother figure, although she's motherless. She's a mother figure to all the children in the village. And that's the kind of life she must have had. She deserves to have until the war changed everything, right?
So these are the what-ifs that you answered
Right,
in
right.
your novel?
Yes,
It's with Suni, it's with the other people. You have a Japanese soldier
right.
in your novel as well.
Right. When I first started writing this novel back in 1997-8, the plot was very simple. The story was very simple. I just wanted to revenge my novel. I wanted to introduce this strong tiger hunter who would protect the woman
Yes.
and just defeat all the Japanese
Yes.
soldiers. And then, because I was just writing this novel with resentment only at the time, or negative emotions. Writing something with negative emotion is it's like a storm. It comes, it destroys everything, but it has no direction.
Yeah.
It doesn't last because it has no direction. So I was like that. My writing was like that.
It was just based on your anger.
Yes, I was driven by my anger. So, you can't write a novel, 250-page novel with anger only. So I stopped. And then what happened was a good excuse came up because I was writing my novel on a used laptop that I bought in Yongsan.
Yeah.
The reason I bought the used laptop, although I could have bought a new one, is because I never thought that I would keep on writing.
Oh,
Yeah, because I just wanted to write this one.
okay.
I never thought that I would write another novel. So I bought a used laptop and wrote my story on it.
Yeah.
And then I got stuck because the story wouldn't move. I couldn't go forward in my story.
You had the writer's block.
Right. And then what happened was good excuse came up because the used laptop that I was working on, all of a sudden started emitting smoke and got really hot and then exploded in front of me. It was a small explosion.
Really?
So it's gone.
It's gone?
Yes, all 50 pages that I had written so far, it's gone. Although I had it printed out somewhere,
Okay.
I could just type it back in, but I just took it as a sign telling me from above that, hey, you're not a novelist. Stop writing. Just take a pause. So, I said to myself, okay, I'm going to just leave it at that until I figure out what's wrong with my writing. And it took me 6 years to come back.
Actor Cha In-pyo will debut as a writer with a novel this coming March, temporarily titled Goodbye Hill. The actor stated working on the manuscript since 1998 and has made many efforts to continue writing ever since.
How did you figure out what was wrong? What did you do during the 6 years?
I just went back to my normal, occupation, which is acting. So I was busy doing my acting. And back in 2006, I have become father of 2 children at the time. And I think that's one of the big reasons that I decided to go back and finish my story, because just like any other parents, I wanted to give the better world to my children. And I know that we have this painful history that we have to somehow explain to our next generation. And how else can I, explain this painful history of comfort women to my children? So I said to myself, okay, I'm going to write this as a book form for the next generation to read.
Right. The question is, you were a successful actor, movie star. If you had wanted to make a point, why did you choose writing a novel instead of playing someone in a movie? Why write about it? Did you always want to write?
Well, movies and novels, although they are different in format, I think I see them originating from the same roots in terms of storytelling, right? But the big difference is movies So our collaborative work involving many experts, big budget. I mean, yeah, it's a teamwork. And while the novels are usually created by one person, the writer, so the responsibility also falls entirely on a writer. Yeah, so writing a novel was the only option that I have that I can start and process and finish all the way.
Make it completely your own.
Yes.
And this is the book.
Yes, once we look at the same style.
Do you have a favorite part of the book?
Yes, I do. In fact, where the storm hits the village, knocking down all the rice plants in the field.
Yes.
And people, not only villagers, but also Japanese soldiers, they all gather together on the field and they work together to lift the fallen planch up. And there's this baby swallow in the sky, and the swallow sees everything down there. The reason I like this part is, I think it's explained in the passage itself. So
Would you want to read a little bit of the
yes,
passage?
if I may,
Yes, of course.
I would love to. 이거 살아있습니다. 벼이삭이 아직 꺾이지는 않았어요. 진흙이 묻어서 그렇지 다 살아있는 거예요. 사람들이 하나둘 논으로 뛰어듭니다. 엄대 아버지도 팔복이 엄마도 가지로도 병사들도 뛰어들어갑니다. 모두 두 팔을 걷어붙이고 힘을 합쳐서 일하기 시작합니다. 한쪽에서 벼를 일으켜 세우면 다른 한쪽에서는 진흙을 털어냅니다. 호랑이 마을 사람들과 일본군 병사들이 함께 어우러져 일을 합니다. 헤헤, 서로 똑같아졌네. 공중에 떠있는 새끼제비는 누가 마을 사람이고 누가 일본군인지 더 이상 분간할 수가 없습니다. 흰옷을 입은 마을 사람들이나 짙은색 제복을 입은 일본군들이나 모두 진흙 범벅이 되었기 때문입니다. 지금 논바닥에는 일본군도 마을 사람들도 없습니다. 그냥 사람들만 있을 뿐입니다. 사람들이 마음을 모아 쓰러진 벼를 일으켜 세우고 있습니다. 새끼제밀은 알고 있습니다. 저들은 해낼 것입니다. 합심해서 송장처럼 쓰러져 있던 벼를 모두 일으켜 세울 것입니다. 그러면 생명이 끊어져 가던 벼가 살아나겠지요. 다시 살아난 벼이삭은 더 많은 쌀알갱이를 품어 키워낼 것입니다. 그 쌀알갱이들은 따뜻한 밥 한 그릇이 되어 지치고 배고픈 누군가의 생명을 지탱해 줄 것입니다. 그렇게 모두들 다시 살아날 것입니다. 아무리 작은 생명일지라도 살아있는 하나의 생명은 또 다른 생명을 살리는 단초가 되니까요. 생명이란 일회성이 아닌 연속성을 가진 살아있음 그 자체라는 것을 새끼제비는 잘 알고 있는 듯합니다.
Why do you like this passage so much?
I think we often forget how miraculously precious we are. Each and every one of us are. We are not just alive, but we are the continuity of being alive. We have thousands of mothers, because my mother also had a mother who loved her mother. It's a miracle to be here, to be alive. But we forget that because we are so busy and distracted by other things. And I think it's one of the responsibilities that fall into the novelist to remind in his work to people how valuable and precious each and every one of us are.
무슨 짐짝 그러다가서 자기네 마음대로 쓰고 싶으면 쓰고 고장이 나서 말하자면 병이 나든가 그러면 버려버리고 갖다 죽여버리고.
the novel, witnessing this part of Korea and what's happening between Korea and Japan, how do you feel about how the Japanese have dealt with the comfort women issue?
Well, some people question why we still address the issue that's from nearly 100 years ago. We continue to address this matter because the painful past has not yet been fully resolved. The official apology has not been made yet, and the suffering of the comfort women has not yet been fully emphasized by many people. I believe that when we fully emphasize the pain of one era, the next generation will not have to suffer the same pain. Whether you are Korean or Japanese or from any other country in the world, if we gather together and fully emphasize the pain of comfort women together, then I think the genuine apology, not the forced one, will emerge from there, as well as the true reconciliation for the next generation.
And that's the only way we can move on
Yes.
from this issue.
Right.
But I hear that, when you, especially this time when you went to Oxford, you encountered others in the audience and you get different reactions from people as you talk about your novel.
I did my special lecture on the 28th of June.
Yes.
And that same day happens to be the day that the Japanese emperor and empress made a visit to Oxford.
Oh, really?
Yes, and they had
Wow.
Covering the crowd to begin with to reposition further down.
先月から留学を始めました。
I think the emperor was receiving a honorary doctoral degree or something like that. So they had a ceremony like 2 blocks away from where I had the lecture.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so actually one of the professors who was in the audience, he asked me, so right now there's a ceremony going on outside with the Japanese emperor and you are here with a small audience talking about comfort women. So what's your reaction? He asked
I
me.
see.
And I said no comment because we didn't plan for this. It just happened to be on the same day. It doesn't matter who was outside doing his ceremony. I mean, he has his job to do, and I have my job to do. This is just a novel, and I'm not focusing on addressing this novel to the government or any other officials or diplomats. I am talking to the children, the next generation, my children. And let's do this. Let's emphasize first myself. I'm not making any diplomatic or political statement with this at all. No.
But if you were given a chance to, it doesn't have to be a political statement, but if you were given a chance to talk, because you're so close to the Japanese emperor, would you have made the same kind of argument that you just made about this novel?
If I had a chance to talk to
the
Japanese emperor directly, yes, probably, yes. I would say it is important for each and every one of us as an individual to fully empathize with the pain of one era together. And then the resolution will come from there, apart from diplomacy or political situation.
This novel talks about the comfort women issue, but you take on other tough issues, the North Korean defector issue as well.
Right.
I loved your movie, actually, The
Oh,
Crossing.
thank you. Thank you so much.
실제로 계획이 왔답니다.
아버지, 인차 갔다 올게. 아버지랑 인차 만난다. 인차 만난다, 준이야.
아버지, 너무 보고 싶습니다. 너무 보고 싶습니다.
Why did you decide to take that movie and take on that issue?
Well, the movie is called Crossing. It's about North Korean defectors. It's based upon true story. Back in 2007, when I was offered a role in a movie Crossing, I declined it twice.
Really?
Because, yes, I mean, the commercial movie world is very tough. It's very competitive. And I thought, I'm playing a North Korean defector in the movie. It's not going to do well commercially because it's not a popular topic
No.
among Korean youngsters. So I declined it. And then I was reading Bible, and one Bible verse in the book of Psalm captured my eyes. It goes something like, save the poor and the fatherless and rescue the oppressed from the hand of the wicked. And this verse actually told me that it's not my choice, but my duty as a Christian actor living in South Korea to appear in this movie. So because of that verse, I changed my mind and took the role in movie Crossing. And looking back now,
Yes.
that movie Crossing is the most memorable work that I have ever done in the entire career of my life.
Really?
Yes.
Why is that?
If I had to pick one movie out of all the movies that I did for the last 30 years, I would say Crossing is the one.
Really?
Yes.
Why is that? Is that because of the topic?
I feel like I did what I had to do at that time.
It actually is a great movie.
Thank you.
And you did wonderfully in it. I've been a fan of yours from way back then, but that was a great movie.
Thank you for saying it.
So all these choices you make, you have a religious background, and so you make these choices out of your keen belief. But you have family.
Yes.
I was told your family, your mother, your grandmother,
right.
and of course your wife, who's also a famous movie star, Shinera.
Yeah.
Do they help you in choosing your projects?
Of course,
In
yes.
the subjects and
Yes,
research? What do they do?
For example, when I started writing my first novel, I was a beginning writer. And I think all the beginning writers would agree with me. And there's a voice in your head when you write a novel. It keeps telling you, hey, stop writing. Don't write. Give it up. No one's going to read this. Right?
Really?
Yes, discouraging voice keeps telling you, because writing a novel is a lonely process. You have to sit there for like 6 months or a year by yourself, staring at your monitor, just writing something out of nothing. So you have to fight against discouraging voice, and to actually make it disappear, you need an assurance that someone is waiting for you to finish it so that someone can read it. So actually, you need one reader, one loyal reader waiting for you. Just like our life, we need one friend, one audience, right?
Someone who always has your back.
Right. So I think my family actually fulfilled that role for me.
And so how do they feel about your projects, your novel, your movies?
Oh, my wife kept on telling me that, you'll be a good writer, even though nobody's reading it right now. So, I wrote 3 novels, but nobody knows that I wrote 3 novels up until this point. And when Oxford invited me and it became a news, and now people start noticing.
Yeah.
And my wife told me that, look, what did I tell you? I told you that you'll be a good writer. So she's very happy now.
Yeah. Well, we owe her a great debt.
Right.
That your novel.
Thank you.
So what is next for you? You're turning the novel into an English language novel?
Yes, it's being translated now as well. English, German, French, and Turkey language as well. And some other countries, they are joining to translate.
But as an actor, do you imagine yourself in your novel as you write?
Not really.
Really?
Yes, I think I become more like a director when I write my novel, because I have to see the whole thing on an omnipotent view, right? I can't just concentrate or focus on one character. I have to see the whole thing.
And that's your experience as a movie actor
Right,
coming into the writing.
Yes.
And that obviously includes a lot of research, because especially like the subject of comfort
Right,
women,
exactly.
you
Yes.
have to be very careful that you're historically
Yes,
correct. How
right.
do you do that process?
So that's one of the reasons that it took me so long to finish this novel. Like I said, I started and stopped it for like 6 years. And when I returned to rewrite this novel back in 2006, my mother actually gave me a piece of advice. She said, In-pyo, for novelists, imagination is crucial, but imagination without truth, it's like building a castle on sand.
It's true.
Meaning that you need to do your research first.
Yeah.
You need to back up what you write about. So that actually, made me realize where I should start from the beginning. So I had to go all the way back, and the first thing I wanted to do was to see the surroundings of our girl, Suni, the village. So I made a trip to Baekdo Mountain, actually to see it myself. And from
You didn't see any tigers?
No. It was March 2006, and the Cheonji Lake was frozen. And there, actually, I saw at the summit of one of the peaks, I saw the flat land. And this is the village. And I felt like I finally found the one piece of puzzle. And from there, I started finding more puzzles and put them together.
You could, in your head, build the story
Yes,
of this
yes.
village.
They were
and
all
the people.
in my head, imagination, and then I, got to see what I had in my imagination.
Are you researching anything new at the moment?
Yes, I'm writing my fourth novel.
Oh, wow. What is that novel about?
It's not, I wouldn't say it's autobiography, but it's about actually me spending time in the US I went to US when I was 21 years old and stayed there until 26 and came back to Korea. So that 5 years actually was a very interesting time for me. I was young and I had to adjust myself to a new environment. So I met quite interesting people there, good opportunities. So yeah, it's about that.
It's sort of a Korean in the US type of story.
Yes, but in a personal version though. Yes.
We are looking forward to reading it. Yes. And hopefully it comes alive as well for you. And you make several trips to the US to sort of revive your memory.
Right.
Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us today. And come back when you finish your fourth novel.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
Thank you. And that's it for me. I'll be back next week with another globalist who is putting Korea on the map. Sun Ji out.